Hello, and welcome to the Anything Appalachia podcast, produced by Germain Media. In each episode, we wander up and down the hills and hollers of old Appalachia, talking about its unique history, culture, and even some of the important issues facing it today. Please welcome our hosts, Scott Ballard and Kelly Germain.
Hello, and welcome again to Germain Media, and a little thing we like to call Anything Appalachia, where most anything goes. It is a family show. So anyway, what we'll do is we'll take a peek behind the curtain at Germain Media. We'll talk about some of the things that we've done and reflect on the places that we've been and the people that we've interviewed. And also we'll talk about some of the projects that are coming up with Germain Media. Anything Appalachia. My name is Scott Ballard. I'm a host at Germain Media. With us off camera is our sound engineer, Mr. Whispering Tristan Ham, and with me, as always, El Presidente, the guru of Germain Media. Say hello to everybody, Mr. Kelly St. Germain. And Kelly, a great place to start is, where are we now? What's going on at Germain Media today?
Well, it's been a busy week, Scott. We've been hard at it, and as you know, Germain Media does a lot of different things. We do websites, we do photography, we do corporate video, and our newest endeavor that's really taking off for us is social media management.
You know, I've heard about social media. I think it's the next. It's like plastics. It's like that movie, The Graduate. Plastics, plastics. Social media. So tell us about what management means.
Well, social media management means helping companies with all the social media platforms out there. I mean, there's so many things. There's Facebook, there's Twitter, there's Pinterest, there's YouTube, there's Vimeo. Do I need to keep going? And a lot of these things are people don't have time to do them. A lot of people that are running small businesses and medium businesses, large businesses. And so we have developed a service where, they can hire us. We guarantee them a certain number of posts every week, and it makes it easy for them. And we've been doing it for about 6 months now and have had a lot of success for the clients we're working with. We're always looking for more. So if you have a business out there and need help with social media, give us a call.
All right, sounds good. The next segment we've got is the jumping off place. The jumping off place. Now, people here in Ashe County will know that as a spot on the Blue Ridge Parkway.
Absolutely. It's one of my favorite places to watch a sunrise.
There you go. And so, because it faces east and it's a nice overlook, about a mile loop trail, I believe.
It is.
But for us, the jumping off segment is a place where we can jump off into a topic and just see where it takes us. And today's topic we're going to jump off into is education in Appalachia, specifically as it began as one-room schoolhouses.
Yep. We've heard a lot of stories of people talking back in the 30s and the 40s about learning the 3 R's in the one-room schoolhouse. And it seems like every community used to have their own schoolhouse. I mean, how many schoolhouses were there in Ashe County at one time? Seems like I heard 70?
Actually, more than that.
Okay.
Right after the Civil War, about 1870, 1880, there were over 100 schoolhouses in our little county. So what that basically means is that yes, you had to walk to school, or you rode the family horse or mule to school, but chances are, with 100 different schoolhouses, it was no more than 2 or 3 miles away from where you lived.
Absolutely. That's just an amazing number. I mean, just to think about that.
Well, and the other part about it was a community building, and on Sundays, it was generally a church. So they got full usage out of it. Now, of course, in these buildings, we're talking about there was no electricity. There was running water, though, in that run fetch me a bucket of water. That was running water. Run and fetch me a bucket of water. But
and no school lunches except what you brought from home. I remember that. Do you remember that one story about Allegheny Schoolhouse, about what was for lunch?
Baked potatoes or sweet potatoes.
Baked potatoes. Miss Agnes, the Queen of Sparta, told us a story of as a little girl, she would bring a baked potato from home. All the kids would. And when they got into the schoolhouse in the morning, there was a big old pot-bellied stove right in the middle of the room, and all the kids would put their potatoes on the stove, and by lunch, they'd be ready.
Or there was soup that would stew on the stove all morning, and there was no playground equipment. It reminds me, there were some folks staying in a cabin here this past weekend, and they texted me and said, "What do you think I should do? What do you think we should do?" I'm like, "Well, get in the river." And they were like, "Well, where's the nearest outfitter?" I'm like, "You don't need an outfitter. Just get in the river.
Yes.
Have fun."
Yeah.
And so that's all it takes. Just get in the river and have fun. Splash around, pick up rocks, throw rocks, all that good stuff.
Well, that's the thing today. We think that we have to have something to be entertained with. And you know what they had back then? Their imaginations.
Their imaginations, they would take a wagon wheel, roll the wheel around. They had hopscotch. They would make up their own games. And I think that's the thing that I think is the biggest difference today with today's kids is that those kids made up their own games. They didn't have supervision. They didn't have coaches telling them what to do. They were on their own, and they discovered it on their own. And I think the other part of that is they worked together in groups better because they had to make up their own rules. Therefore, there was a socialization process going on that I don't know if we really give them the opportunity for free play. That's where I'm trying to go. I'm finally getting there. Free play. You know, that's the concept that we actually have to, as parents today, we have to actually structure time for free play.
Yeah. Isn't that ridiculous?
And back then that's all it was.
Yeah.
It's free play. So,
absolutely.
The thing that I wanted to add about the one-room schoolhouses that we don't do today is that they were required to memorize a lot of things. They were actually required to memorize much of their lessons and recite it back. I think that's actually engaging your brain in a tremendous way that is helpful. It's a challenge.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, they would remember whole, quotes from Shakespeare and pages and verses and things like that, I guess it's frowned upon today in modern education.
I think it's an incredible learning tool because you can bridge so many things off of that. I think the only thing today that has any mirror effect, if you will, to the one-room schoolhouse is homeschooling. Homeschooling is growing. It's a growing phenomenon. I think everybody recognizes that now. Yep. And certainly that is a little bit of a throwback when you have many age groups in the same room, as it were. Absolutely.
Homeschooling, that's a whole nother conversation right there. But it's certainly in our area and throughout the Appalachians, it's become quite a popular trend.
Well, the other thing about homeschooling and the one-room schoolhouse is that you had multiple grades, obviously, in the same room, but most people did not go past 8th grade. So it wasn't quite like the kindergartner there, there's the bell, with the senior in high school. They really didn't have that many grades.
Right.
So the numbers were a little different. Well, the bell has rung, signaling the fact that we're going to talk about how we make all of this possible, Kelly. How does Germain Media make all of this possible with podcasts and photos and videos?
Well, that's one of the biggest challenges that we face, Scott. I mean, as you know, this is not a full-time job. It certainly is a passion of ours telling these stories, and the other things that we do are what pay the bills, so to speak. And we're trying to develop things so that we can do more programming on Appalachian history on a regular schedule. And one of the ways that we are trying to do that is we are asking our members to go to patreon.com/Germain Media. I'll put the link in right below here. And, it's a super simple, easy platform. You can sponsor us for $1 a month. Once you set it up, it's done. And that $1 a month will help us tremendously if we can get a portion of our social media audience to help us out. All right. So go to patreon.com/Germain Media.
All right. Thank you, Kelly. And so now it's time for them fighting words. And we don't have our Hulk fist. So we're just imagine that we have our Hulk fist. There, okay. Pow. Rock'em Sock'em Robots. Remember that game?
I do. I love that game.
That needs to make a comeback.
Beat the living daylights out of my brother.
It's all good sibling fun.
Absolutely.
And so today's topic for Them's Fighting Words, where we look at some of the hot topics, if you will, is four-laning roads into Appalachia, specifically in our case, US 221 linking us with Highway 421. So there's some pros and cons to that. So Kelly, I'll just throw that out to you and take it from there.
Well, we're talking about 14 miles of pavement between here and Deep Gap, North Carolina on Highway 221. And Scott, I think it's the greatest thing. I think that, a significant portion of our audience works in Boone and Watauga County and Wilkes. And that's a major artery out of Ashe County. And right now it's dangerous. It's a dangerous road. And I think that if once we get that, and it's not going to be a quick process, it's going to take several years, it sounds like. But once we get that 14 miles 4-lane, I think it's going to open up this county and be a really good thing.
there are people in this county that would rather it not be opened up.
True.
And they feel like that the four-laning process itself, because the right-of-way is literally like 60 or 100 feet on either side. It's just a massive right-of-way that it despoils some of the beauty of the drive-in, some of the beauty of nature as you drive into Ashe County. Because if you look and see the massive amount of dirt that they're moving, they are completely changing the landscape. And that's everybody's first impression. When we talk about billboards, right, we have this moratorium on visual pollution, if you will, in the form of billboards in Ashe County. Well, what's the difference in having this huge mountain or this hill completely graded off and cut all the trees down? What's the difference?
It's called the cost of progress, which
it
may not be a popular thing all the time everywhere. But, this county, where a lot of places, we are struggling for jobs. The jobs of yesterday, some of the industrial, the factory jobs that we had are gone, and they've been gone for 20 years. And, one of those things, and this is a whole conversation of itself, the tourism economy is huge for Ashe County right now. We've been discovered in the last probably 4 or 5 years. West Jefferson has done an amazing job retooling their downtown and making it pedestrian friendly, and shops are flourishing. And I think that road is going to be a benefit to the whole tourism industry. It's going to make it easier for people to get here. It's going to make it easier and much, much safer for our people, for Ashe County residents who work elsewhere, to get there safely and on time.
I'm going to cede this argument to you. I actually certainly see your point, and it's a point well taken. The other thing that I'll add is that I've actually got a family member who drives up here from off the mountain, and she talks about how narrow the roads are up here. Well, the fact is the roads are the same width because it's the same DOT making the roads. But the curvy roads are what kind of throw her off a little bit. So it's perception and reality, I think, when it comes to roads.
Absolutely, and that perception is shaped by how much traffic there is on that road right now. And unfortunately, everybody's doing the speed limit plus, and when you've got that much traffic heading there, it's amazing we don't have more accidents than we do.
I think the thing, if you look at the grading process that's going on, I think that in Appalachia as well, that anytime you can improve the road during inclement weather is also going to be a plus, because when it snows, it's going to be easier to keep that
absolutely. When
maintained.
You think about how many times during the winter there's been traffic has come to a stop on Lemley Hill, that's been the nemesis for many a commuter over the years, and I think they're going to level that out quite a bit.
I actually had a run-in with a salt truck once, and that's
another story.
It is another story for another time. So, moving on, we'll take the incredible career risk of using a children's toy to dictate where we're going to go in our next segment. So, you want to give her a rip?
Absolutely. For everybody out there, this is our See and Say. And we take a tug on it, and we've matched up various topics with various animals. So let's see what we get. We get nothing. What was that, career risk? All right, let's pull it again. An owl says, hoo.
So who?
Let's see what in the world an owl
what,
is.
when, where, and how.
Owl corresponds to food.
Excellent.
Food. Appalachian food memories. What are we going to do with that one? Here's off to you.
Well, one of the things that I got to tell you this. One of the things that many of the trips that we've made as a family are sponsored by Cracker Barrel, and this is an unsolicited testimonial for Cracker Barrel.
But we are available for solicitation.
So I get harped on because the only thing that I like to eat at Cracker Barrel are beans and greens. I like my pinto beans, cornbread, and turnip greens, which is a staple in old Appalachia. And I don't know why I like it, but I got to tell you this. You would think that as a chain, it's Cracker Barrel, right? There's Cracker Barrels all over the place.
Everywhere. We even saw them up north.
Well, that's where I'm going, is up north. We were in Wisconsin, okay, at the Dells. If anybody's been to Wisconsin, it's like Gatlinburg North, okay? So we're at a Cracker Barrel there, and I'm ordering my beans and greens, and I said, I'd like some chow chow with that.
Did she break into a dance?
The chow chow. Right, very good. No, she had this blank, sort of dumbfounded look on her face. I'm like, chow chow. It's like relish. She had no idea.
Really?
She had no idea what
They had
chow
missed
chow
that
was.
in the corporate trading?
Right. That was not a part of it.
Chow chow 101.
That's kind of like, I've got to have my chow chow. And a little bit of vinegar.
Yeah.
So that's my contribution to, it's beans and greens. And a little bit of cornbread. You can't go wrong.
Well, when we're interviewing people, one of my favorite questions is asking them about their favorite meals. What did Grandma used to fix?
Comfort food.
Oh, yeah. And you know what? I love to see how people's faces just change. You just see, when they go into that memory mode of they kind of leave you for a second and they're back, 50 years ago in Grandma's kitchen and she's baking a pie or frying chicken or.
Well, and they will, to a person, tell you that anything cooked on a wood-fired cook stove is going to taste better than anything that they've ever had.
Absolutely.
And this is back then, they cooked with everything. They didn't waste anything with the pig. They cooked everything but the oink. and so you had the lard. This is just the way they cooked. And and the other thing too about cooking is that there was a fire in that wood-fired cook stove all day long.
24/7.
There's no angles where you can pick up a rotisserie chicken on your way home. This is something that had to be cooked. Every single meal had to be cooked.
And a lot of times that same wood stove had a container. That's where their hot water came from. There was a container on that was part of it that, water was constantly being heated for whatever needs that they had.
Can you imagine? In these days, and then we complain that it gets to 80 degrees in the mountains. Okay, sorry. Anybody off the mountain, I'm just apologize in advance for being a wimp. But can you imagine in this little cabin, it's 80, 85 degrees, and you've got the wood stove going.
Yeah.
It's like a sauna.
Yeah, absolutely. That's why I think a lot of, it was quite common for people to have an outdoor kitchen during the summers.
Right.
A lot of these houses were expanded. There was a lean-to. You see that classic T formation of Appalachian houses. A lot of them were formed that way, where the back T was initially in a summer kitchen, and then that got built up as they needed more bedrooms and became a formal kitchen with bedrooms upstairs.
So, Kelly, how did they keep things fresh and cool?
Well, can you say spring house?
Mm-hmm.
Spring house. And you've got a quote about spring houses where the water...
it was always 2 degrees colder than the morning.
2 degrees colder than the morning. That's right. Everybody that grew up in the 30s and 40s knows what a spring house was. That's where you kept the buttermilk.
That's where you kept the eggs, the buttermilk. And it was coming out of the mountain at about 55, 56, 57 degrees. Yeah. So it wasn't like a refrigerator, but it extended the life of perishables.
Absolutely. And many a youngin' was sent down to the spring house to go fetch some butter, fetch some eggs.
That's right. Butter and egg money.
Yeah.
So what we'd like to hear, it's a chance for audience engagement. Tell us about some of your comfort foods or things that you heard from your grandparents about what they ate, what they had.
What was your favorite meal? I'd love to hear it. What was your favorite thing that Grandma or your mother used to fix? Put them in the comments below.
I'll tell you something we just made, and this is something that was certainly a rarity because of the here we go. I'll have to save that one.
You're going to have to. That's for next week.
Oh, my goodness, if I can remember.
Boy, our producer's a slave driver there. Come on.
So one of the things, speaking of our audience, this is actually a great segue because we have a very engaged audience. We have an audience that gives us lots of suggestions and tips and ideas and questions. And so every week we try to answer at least one question from our audience. And Kelly, what's that question this week?
Our favorite question this week comes from Susan in Wilkes. Thank you, Susan, from Wilkes County. She asked, what is your favorite photo you have ever taken? Wow.
That's really, really difficult. Because
that's a loaded question. We've shot, several thousand in the last 3 years we've put on Facebook.
Well, and we, meaning you. I've shot some of Lisa. Your wife Lisa has taken many wonderful photographs. But, it really boils down to what makes a great photograph, Kelly. What makes a great photograph?
Well, I think, like with art, it really depends on the individual, what you like. We've got a certain part of our audience that loves barn photos. We've got some that like animal photos, some that we like church pictures. And in fact, those are some of my favorite pictures to take. I don't think there's anything more beautiful than a little white country church. I mean, I love to find a new one and shoot it. And probably, it's almost impossible to say what is my single favorite photo, but I'm going to. And
with that lead in,
and it was probably one that I took back in, I think, February of this year. That was I got lost going somewhere in Watauga County where I was going to take a sunrise picture, and I ended up in Fosco, and I found a little church over there. I believe it's St. John's. And it was like 6:15 in the morning. It was about 12 degrees. I was so cold. And I wanted to take a shot of a...
suffering for your art.
Yes, absolutely. And I wanted to take a shot of shooting through the church window and catch the sun coming through the other side. And it was one of those examples of what I thought I shot and what I actually shot were two different things. When I got that photo back here and put it on the computer, I was amazed. I got reflections of the woods behind me in the window that I just like to say I had help on that photo.
Yeah.
It was amazing.
I think what makes a great photo is that you've captured a moment in time that didn't exist in that second before and probably didn't exist in the second after you took the shot.
Correct.
And so that's the beauty of and the magic and the art of photography, whether you're shooting digital or you're shooting just any kind of format.
Yep, and I'd just like to end that segment by saying that please send us your questions. If we choose one of your questions, we're going to send you a free T-shirt and a Germain Media hat. So you can pick a blue one, a black one, and we'll include a hat. So just put your questions. You can send them to us privately or put them in the comments below.
Okay. All right, well, that wraps up another Anything Appalachia podcast. Thanks so much for staying with us and watching. We invite you to share this on Facebook with your friends and family, and also follow us on Pinterest, on all the social media channels, Instagram, also Twitter, Vimeo, YouTube. Follow us down the street.
Instagram.
I thought I said Instagram.
Oh, did you?
I don't know. Did I say? Okay, Facebook. Well, of course, Facebook. Facebook.
Well, they're
That's
watching
a given.
this on Facebook.
Oh, Tristan. But anyway, in the words of Mickey Pruitt's, y'all have a good one, and holler if you need us.
That brings to a close another edition of the Anything Appalachia podcast, produced by Germain Media. We hope you enjoyed the conversation and will tune in next time. Until then, here's hoping that you and yours are fine and dandy.